soon as it starts doing
We're
its
live.
things. You're live.
We're live.
Woo, there we go. We were gray there for a moment. Well, we're still gray.
We got a lot of gray.
Ah, we're going live early. Look how I look like Herman Munster. Um, we're here early just to get this all the things out. Nobody's here yet, Timmy. You can adjust yourself. I gotta do something real quick.
There ain't much adjusting I can do. Yeah, this is our 6 year anniversary post. How about that? 6 years. Wow. Amber will be back in a minute. I usually don't like to talk without her because I usually say something bad or wrong. Or I give the punchline away and
Can you believe we've been here 6 years?
feels like it's been like 20.
You think it's been like 20?
I've aged 20 years in six
Good
years since we've
morning.
been
I
here.
can't stay long. Wanted to jump in. Well, good morning, honey. Thanks. Good morning. So we're here a little early because we always have these hiccups and we don't start on time. We're not supposed to start till 9 o'clock, but that's good. And we're sorry we missed y'all last Saturday. I had someplace I had to go. Forgot all about it, and I booked it for Saturday morning. So I'm like, oops. Y'all's live. So if you're just joining us for the very first time, we're going to apologize ahead of time because you never know what's going to come out of our mouth.
Especially me.
And this is not an educational video, although you'll learn what not to do. This is just friends having coffee and chit chat. Are you distracted by the window now?
Keep looking
You
out.
got to look at the dot. I don't know if y'all can see it, but first, hi, I'm Amber,
I'm Leroy. I'm Tim.
and we are two of the five Bradshaw family members that left the city in Myrtle Beach, or south of Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island, actually, and follow God's path to lead us to the mountains here off grid in East Tennessee by the Smoky Mountain National Forest. And we are celebrating 6 years here today. It is our, well, we left on the 30th. We arrived in Tennessee on the 31st at 1 a.m. But let me see if I can show you Timmy's distraction. Hang on. The reality of family and friends getting together. You just don't know. Ain't that the truth, honey? You never know what we're going to say. So I'm going to turn the computer around a little bit and see if you can see what we're seeing. So there's our stove where I'm boiling water for pasta for a dish. Our
There
plant,
we
our
go.
dirty kitchen. Keep going. And our coffee station. And here you go. Can you see that? It might just be some big white glass to y'all. Let me turn you around slowly so you don't get dizzy. There we go. Stop it. So last 2 weeks, Timmy has if you didn't see the show Building Off the Grid, because my daughter Morgan and I were this was part of it. You don't have access to that feature. I don't know what feature I don't have access to. Can you scooch closer? I mean, I know it's a widescreen, but anyhow, how we built our house really quickly is we took the glass from the inside of doors, the metal doors that have the full glass window, and we took the windows out. And because we bought these doors that were all banged up for $10, we took the windows out. Do you remember the dimensions? Like five and something by two and a half?
Yeah, it's like 2 feet by 5.5 feet.
And we did that back in Pawleys Island too. And that's where we initially got that idea because there was an area in our kitchen that I really wanted to let light in, but we didn't need it to be an opening window. And I didn't want to look at the neighbors. So we took that, turned it sideways. It was a long rectangle. And like for $10, we have a panoramic view of the Smoky Mountain National Forest, and it's stunning. However, what wasn't great about these windows is they didn't open, and we don't have heat in the traditional sense of air. And opening windows are a really nice thing. So this year we splurged more severely where we put them. You really couldn't see out if you were sitting down, only if you stood up. So we got these massive windows. I
Yeah,
call them
they're
massive.
4 feet tall by 6 feet wide, and they open. So
They're massive and they
yeah,
open and they slide. And we can't stop looking at them. And it let a lot of light in here. And I just love it. It's just, I love it. I love it. Anyways, that's my
it gives the
story.
house a lot of light now.
But if you see him looking like this instead like this, that's why he's staring at our windows. Love you guys, Dad and Joyce. Hey, Dad, how are y'all? Uh, in this feature, let Timmy talk. Jenny, kiss my grits.
Top of the morning to you, Lane.
Love you, Dad.
Thank you.
Go ahead then, Talkie.
Thank
Tell
you.
you.
She says it all for me.
Don't be like that. I'm not going to hurt you after we have our morning live. Just say what you want.
Good.
So let's talk about. I will hurt you now. Let's talk about our 6 year anniversary. It's been 6 years.
So I guess let's go back, rewind a little bit.
Tamara, thank you, sister. Tamara, you need to catch me up on your life. You need to send me a chat. I want to know how you're doing. Okay. 6 years ago, let's rewind. 6 years ago, selling our home. Start a little bit before that. Why did we come here? We ain't never been here before. We never even
No,
vacation
we've
here.
we've never been here before,
Look
and
here.
it was I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a calling, really. Um, you know, when you look at your lives and your kids' lives, and you know, it's the quality. It just isn't there. You're struggling to enjoy yourself, and you know,
We're looking outside.
we just I wasn't at peace with myself and where we were. So, um, I talked to Amber about this, and
I thought you said, wait a minute. You skipping all the good stuff.
see, I'm to the punchline.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to do the buildup. He just wants to rip it off and go, oops, so we moved to Tennessee. You had started going to like a men's Bible study and had a dream that you were standing on the mountain and had the Bible in your hand and there's a cross there and you were sharing your testimony with people.
Well, back then I had Bible in my hand all the time because we were
And
it was
then we were having coffee one morning and he said the Lord placed on his heart to move to the mountains. And that's all that was just a trick to get me here.
no. I was one of those type of people. I'm like I'm buried here. I'm never leaving,
Ever,
and
ever.
I had no desire to ever want to leave
The beach.
the ocean.
You're a surfer.
Most of my family, and everything, and it just
Our jobs were there. Our
yeah.
kids were born there. He surfed. Our home was there. It was paid off. We had a good business.
But just we did, the quality of life.
We were living. We were alive, but we weren't
We were,
living.
yeah, we were. We'd go to work, come home, and just stay inside the house.
Wash, rinse, repeat is what I
Yeah,
call it. We were all plugged in all the time, and we weren't connected with nature. We were just alive.
yeah.
Us have ever talked about leaving or moving. I mean, our kids' handprints were in the concrete. You do that, you don't move. You stay there, and then you pass that building down to your grandkids. And we finally had our house the way. Well, we almost had our house the way we wanted it. It was a work in progress. We were contractors for a living. And then after coffee, I thought Timmy was kidding, and we had a little bit of savings for the first time in our lives. So we're like, well, let's just, I mean, I wasn't talking about moving. I think he was. I wasn't. And I said, well, let's just buy a little vacation piece of land in the mountains and we'll vacation there, like all these rich people do, take vacations. And so we started looking, and I'm not talking like a exuberance amount of money, y'all. I'm talking like buy land for $5,000 and hand stick build something for a vacation. And 3 months later, I run into a surfing buddies at the grocery store, and they're like, "Yeah, I heard you and Timmy are moving to the mountains." I was dumbfounded. I was infuriated, and I'm like, "Huh?" And I came home and I give Timmy a cussing out. I'm like, "You can't be telling all these people we're moving in the mountains. We have to work here. We're not ready to move. Our kids, Gavin was the manager of the grocery store. Morgan was there. Morgan was in school. Lyndon started preschool. I said, we'll lose business if you go around telling people we're moving in the mountains. Go ahead. You're
For a place that I'd lived in for so long,
city bound. Go ahead.
it was starting not to feel like home. So, I mean, that's got to tell you something right there. When you really don't like where you live anymore,
You
it's
don't feel like you belong.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I felt.
We prayed about it a lot, a lot. We didn't know where we were going. And if y'all were following us back then when we had the coastal homestead, we even put a contest out on the internet for people to help us find land. And like we just want to be where God wants us to be. We don't care as long as we can drive home and visit family. And it has to be within, reasonable drive. And so we worked really hard for a whole year. That's how long it was from conception to completion to move. I thought it was going to happen overnight. Matter of fact, I called
2
my
weeks.
friend.
2
I,
weeks.
I called my friend who's in real estate, who I'm still good friends with. I actually work with her now. And I said, we're going to put our house on the market. You need to come over. And so she walked in and we're like, oh, we want to do this and this and this and this and this. And we're going to do this. And she just kind of looked at everything and she had vision, but she goes, so how long do you think it take for you to do all this stuff? Because I don't want to put it on the market till you do. I'm like, 2 weeks. And these were things like raising the roof to a regular 8-foot roof to a vaulted ceiling and adding on to the bedroom and redoing the bathroom. And she looked at me. She goes, honey, Amber, call me when you're done. Call me when you're ready. 1 year later, see, I told you, I have Daddy, I'm not going to talk to you tomorrow, just for that. Go ahead, Timmy.
So a year later, she gets the call,
To the realtor.
and the realtor comes over, and we sit down and we discussed the price and end up putting it on the market, and it sold within, I mean, just a couple of open houses
No,
or
it
views.
sold in one day. There was 5 showings booked that single day, and it sold that day, full price, cash offer. And they wanted us out in 2 weeks, and they wanted all of our furniture and the pictures on the walls and everything.
They like that.
See, if you let him talk, you get misinformation. And then it was chaos after that. So that day we left and we did the tour. We drove all the way up North Carolina, went across to Tennessee, drove all the way down on the east side of Tennessee.
Johnson City.
We drove through all the areas.
Yeah.
And everybody picked this area where we live now. We didn't have land or anything picked. We just liked this area the best.
Yeah. It's full of hillbillies.
However, we still didn't have land. And then we went back, and then it was just a big old nightmare. It was Satan was trying to shake our faith because then the people who
Mm.
everybody gave their notice at work. We told all of our clients that we were wrapping things up, that we canceled future jobs. We were on a big job that we needed to finish. Gavin put in his 2 weeks. Morgan, we started getting the transfers, everything. We didn't know where we were going to stay. We didn't know what we were going to do.
I think it fell through probably about 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times the sale did. The people
Yeah.
tried to back out and then they redid it. They back out and redid it. We had to get an attorney involved. It was horrible. My nerves were shot. And but during the waiting time of when we're building, I kept going. I was getting frustrated. I was ready to start my new life in the mountains somewhere. I didn't think it'd be Tennessee. I just knew it was the mountains. And felt like I hated waiting. I mean, that's one thing that's hard on all of us, isn't it? Is we're trying to live God's path and we want it done now. We want to know the answers. We want a backup plan. We don't want to sit there and be patient and not know what tomorrow's going to bring, especially
Well,
me,
yeah.
Miss List Queen.
Yeah. I mean,
Talk about that
I've
time
been
where I went to
I've
you.
been in situations in my life where I'm like, this has got to happen. I mean, there's no backing out of it. We've got to do this. And I think at that time, I had so much peace in my life that I was like,
You were
it's just the timing. That's all. I'm not. It's God's timing. So I just went with it, and I said, well, it's either going to happen now or it's just going to happen later. And I kept that
Your
the
faith
whole
didn't waver at
time.
all.
Yeah. And I mean, Amber,
Fast
she was
pace.
crawling the walls and just she's just in a bad
Talk about our conversation that time, though. When I went to you just in tears, and you told me that you thought it was supposed to, you were supposed to convince me.
Yeah, I think well, through the whole thing when Amber was just beside herself about the whole thing,
Waiting
and
out.
she was like, it's not gonna happen. And I said, honey, just I think I'm here just to give you peace about it and just to reassure you that, you know, it will happen. You just gotta be patient. And I mean, the whole conversation was standing around a big pile of scrap stuff that we torn out of the house, and she was
The
just looking
ceiling.
around, and it was just,
I
oh my
didn't see the
goodness,
light at the end of the
this is
tunnel.
never gonna happen.
And it's easy to lose faith in when you're looking at your circumstances, you know? I mean, we were dwindling through we were just burning through our savings was dwindling, and our house was no closer to being on the market. We were no closer to moving to Tennessee. And then I started doing the math about how much it would cost us. Oh, we didn't still know Tennessee yet. Of how much it was going to cost us to move. And I started thinking, I'm like, I don't know if we can do this. And excuse me, for what we're going to get out of the house. Because I was also seeking knowledge about people that lived off grid and how much everything cost and what we could use and what we couldn't use when we moved. Could we power up the air conditioner? Could we use a fan while be able to use a blender? There were so many questions, and very, very few people were walking the walk of where we wanted to be that were forthcoming and sharing their knowledge. And that was frustrating. And I couldn't understand why people weren't willing to share their information to help us succeed.
Hmm.
And anyways, I was blew up one day and I was like, Timmy, when is this going to happen? I mean, we are 8 months into this and we're no closer to being done than we were the day we started. And Timmy's like, I don't know. All I know is to just be patient and have peace. And I'm like, how? And he's like, God's telling me to just wait. I said, well, why doesn't he tell me? I've been a Christian longer than you. And that's when he goes, I think I was supposed to convince you. And I was sitting there in my tears,
It
like,
it took a while for that to soak in, and
well, no, it took me that day. I mean, while we were talking, I sat there and I said, okay. Because I might not have faith in us and in our circumstances, but I knew that Timmy was unshook in his faith. And I know what God's done in my life in the past. And I had to trust him.
And I think we were at that point in the construction too that you're at that one point where everything looks like it's just not going to get finished, and you've got so much that needs to be wrapped up. And I think we were at that point then, and she was looking around, and she really didn't see anything finished. But then, it started coming together, and she was like,
But it took a year, one
yeah,
whole
it
year.
did. It
And then for all of those that, God placed on their heart to do something, and you're like, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. It's his timing. He's lining up all of the perfect pieces for his plan for you. He might have revealed it to you a little early, but because he needs you to move, he needs you to act on faith, but it's his timing. And we always want things in our timing. We think if it's not our timing, then, well, something went wrong. God's plan isn't working. He forgot about me or whatever. I was wrong. I really wasn't hearing him. And I will tell you though, because Timmy was sad that day, he goes, all I know is when it's supposed to happen, it will happen. And Lord, if it didn't, that day we listed our house on the market. It had 5 showings, full price cash offer. Wanted us out in 2 weeks. And Satan tried every single thing he could to stop it. Seriously, these people that bought our house, the woman, I ended up like stalking her down on Facebook. I'm like, what kind of people are causing our lives so much chaos? This whole we want it, we don't want it, we entered an agreement, now we're canceling, all of this stuff. It was such an emotional roller coaster. And she was an artist, but did like the third eye stuff. And she, in one of her pictures, she had like, it was a pizza square and blood coming out of it, and the little triangle with the eye in it, and Dracula, and like a demon thing. And I started crying. I'm like, Timmy, I don't want these people in our home. I don't want them in our home. I said, this is a Christ filled, Bible filled home. I don't want these evil people in here. No wonder they're causing us so much chaos. And God put on my heart that it wasn't for them, it was for their son who was autistic and a little child. So Morgan had wrote a letter to the new owners, which I didn't know, and left it in her bedroom saying that she prayed over it and hoped whoever was in there was blessed. And that little boy had her room. And anyways, God had to put a lot of things in the makes, in the works for it to get us here.
yeah.
Not only that, but I had been looking at this piece of land here for a year. I'm like, all right. But I kept looking at it like every day. I'm like, it's still available. It's still available. For a year, it stayed on the market during the real estate boom, which is unheard of. And so we came and looked at a bunch of places, and we didn't like any of them. And I said, can we just please go see this, even though it's double our budget? And you were going, what was it? You're like, I don't want to be land poor, is what you were saying. And I get it. But when we listed our house, it listed for double what we thought we could list it for. And we owned it. So it was all cash. We didn't in a million years dream that it would list for what it listed for. It was the highest priced house ever sold in that neighborhood to that date, and it was double. So when we saw this land, Timmy was the one that made the decision.
Well, yeah. I was instantly,
He's like, "This is it."
attracted to it. I mean, the way it's positioned in the middle of the woods. I mean, and the place.
It marked all of our ticks.
Yeah, where we could build our house and everything. I was like, yeah, this is definitely it. I mean, at first I think I was kind of focused on what was down in the holler of the cabin and everything, and how much work that would be, and I didn't see the whole picture.
Well, no, at first we thought we were going to be living in a tent, and to find that there was some dilapidated structure on here that we could be sheltered from the storm, we were like, wow, it's got a cabin. Now, mind you, it was crawling with
Once we got
critters.
the snakes and the squirrels and the rats out, it was
I
not
think the
bad.
rats are still there,
Not bad.
but it was a huge act of faith.
Hmm.
Huge, huge. But let me tell you something. It's been hard, incredibly hard, but it has been such a blessing ever since we decided to act on that faith. And we sold everything that we had, the pictures on the walls, the silverware in the drawer, everything, and moved to a place that we had never been. We never visited Cosby. We've never heard of Cott County. We've never took a vacation here. We didn't know a single soul that lived here, and bought our land and followed the path to move off grid. And did give our children the option. We gave them both the option to, except for Lyndon, who was only 6 at the time. But Morgan was getting ready to be a senior in high school, and Gavin was in his young 20s. And he was 23 at the time that we moved. Yeah, because he turned 24 that year. And we gave him all the option to stay in South Carolina or come with us. And they like, no, let's go. And Gavin had to come here to meet his wife. This is where he Morgan is still figuring out her journey and her path, and Lyndon, she just came along for the ride. God bless her. But we have been blessed ever since we stepped foot on land in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean the people that we've met,
The
just
relationships.
everything about it has been a blessing. And I think with my life that
She's like, God taught me years ago that it's okay and let God be in control. Sometimes it requires that we are silent in prayer, come together with our spouse and trust. It's so very hard.
definitely,
In Tamara said, I'm so glad Gavin met his wife. Yeah, because she wouldn't come into Polly's Island, Tamara. But yeah, it is very hard to let God be in control, especially if you have to wait any period of time and have that faith that He's going to work it through. Because, like I said, we're people that want instant gratification, and it's easy to get distracted and lose sight of things, especially when you don't know God's plan. If He could have just told us His plan, we would have been good.
there goes your faith. Huh?
Yeah,
But
you don't need faith when you have all that. But it has been, and then we were here a month, a month and a half, when we got that email about building off the grid and being on that show. And it just so happened we just got our building permit that week. And they're like, when we got that email, they're sitting here going, do you know anybody that's moving off the grid? I said, yeah, us. And they're like, really? They go, well, do you own your land? How much is it? Da, da, da. And they're like, well, when are you starting? I'm like, this week. We just got our building permit. They're like, stop. And then that's a whole nother story. But after that, then the book, and the other show, then the other book. And it's just been a whirlwind, really. It's
yeah,
been crazy. But I remember when we came to this land and we started walking the property, which I still hadn't even been on all of it. Not only did we were able to afford it because our house listed for double than what we thought, we could finally afford to buy this land. When Timmy came here, he goes, I know this land isn't meant for just us. He said, I know this land is meant for something bigger. And now my mom lives here, our son and his wife live here, and we're expanding. We would have never been able to do that somewhere else.
yeah. Especially when you throw some goats and chickens and pigs
Pigs
and
and
all that into it.
we got a long way to go too. I just keep praying for more energy and strength.
Dogs that eat 100 pounds of feed a week, and man, dude.
I have space on our whiteboard yet. Not God has put on the board His plan. Yet this honey-do list is long. Isn't that the truth, honey? It's not the truth. Now we're not supposed to sit still and be idle, because you know what the Bible says about idle hands. But the bigger plan, it it it's always a mystery, and we still don't know what. I mean, we're trying to move forward in the direction that we feel led, but we still don't know the bigger plan.
No.
I do feel that He revealed it to us, and we weren't ready at the time, or all the people that were supposed to be part of it weren't obedient. Um, And it could have been us that weren't being obedient or, whatever, but we still know that that is the vision that he gave us and it has not come to fruition. So, and he might be waiting on us, say, hey, you guys aren't doing the right thing. You gotta get back on track. You just veered off a little bit, which is easy to do because you get wrapped up in the busy of life. Oops.
Exactly.
I got it. You go ahead and do what you're doing. I'm cooking pasta, y'all.
So I think through the whole thing, as far as building my faith has been, you know, one of the biggest things that
Trust in God.
I've come out with, and I do have to say that God works, I think, so hard with us building faith, and He can get you through so many things. And I think with me that building my faith has been, it's been amazing, but it's amazing how hard He works to keep you in that.
Keep proving that he
Yeah,
won't let you
and He
down.
has to do it over and over again. We lose it, and I know I do because I get in situations where I
I
just throw
can't
my
do
hands
this.
up and
Yeah.
I can't do it, um, and it's amazing how He can get you through something, and then the next day you turn around and you're right back in that situation where you feel like you can't do it, and you just have to stay with Him and trust in Him, and you know.
Well, you gotta quit leaning in your own abilities and your own understanding. And I think that's where you struggle with because you're like, I can't do it. I'm like, you're right, you can't. But if you trust in God, He can.
Yeah.
And that's where I have seen you have unwavering faith when we were in South Carolina. It was incredible. And the stuff, he literally single handedly completely remodeled our home back home. And y'all, I'm talking about bolting an 8-foot ceiling, adding a whole bathroom, adding a bedroom while working and doing, I mean, the things that he accomplished during that time and the amount of energy and never he just always had energy every single day, 7 days a week for a whole year. And even when he and Gavin built this home for in 3 months with just their hands and no tools. I mean, they had like a hammer and a saw and stuff, but y'all, we had no power up here. We didn't have any heavy machinery. We didn't have a work crew. No one helped them. Um, I take that back. We had a young man, Zachary, that came for about 5 days and helped them.
All the
But
way from Idaho.
yeah, all the way from Idaho. It's a friend
Yeah.
of ours. Shane, by the way, his son Zachary came and helped us,
Yeah.
and he was a great help. But we didn't have any construction crews. We didn't have any all this stuff. To see them build this home in 3 months from cutting the first tree down, and I saw God's hand all over it. And there was no earthly explanation for how we have been able to accomplish the things that we have. And I think that's one of your biggest testimonies of faith is when you trust in God and let Him work through you.
Yeah.
But when you don't and you rely on your own, it just like it takes months to get something
Oh
done.
yeah. I mean, when we were building this, I mean, I had my times where I was struggling, and I felt like we weren't going to finish it, and of course, finish is you know,
Preparing any promo videos and affiliate right now and saw you were live. Hey, honey. Yeah, we're live. We're actually trying to wrap it up. This is our 6-year anniversary video that we're just kind of talking about our journey that we love sharing because it was so, I mean, it was crazy. It was stuff that we never planned. We never planned to live off grid. We had a little coastal homestead by the beach in South Carolina, and even the government tried to squish that. I don't know how many times they changed the laws. They made everything we were doing illegal. They wouldn't grandfather us in, and we went to court. It was on TV. It was just a big mess. And there was nothing that we were doing wrong. We weren't breaking any laws. They created laws after we were doing something to make what we were doing illegal. And it just crushed her spirit a lot. And then God put on my husband's heart to move, take his family, move to the mountains.
Yeah, the neighborhood that we lived in was 13 acres, I think, or 15 acres.
I don't know. No,
The
that was
complete.
behind us was 12 acres. I
Yeah.
don't know what
Anyway,
Marshall's was.
it, it was, you know, it was a small neighborhood.
Our lot was 87 feet wide by 147 feet deep. That was our property.
Yeah.
And we did everything that we could to be sustainable as we could there. And we had an HOA. Timmy was the president. I was the secretary treasurer. We knew all of those restrictive covenants and laws backwards and forwards.
Mhm.
But anyhow, it still was a hot mess. We ran a farmer's market there, an organic home delivery, nonprofit produce business, and our construction company. I mean, we did a lot where we were, and we were really, really thankful for that experience, but it's night and day from how we're living now. Now we live off grid and just under 47 acres, and we have solar power, but everything in our house, like our stove is a wood cook stove, our heat is wood. We don't have air. Um, and we kind of do everything the old fashioned way and unplugged and raise livestock and try to grow as much food as we can. And Timmy mills all of the wood for everything that we need.
Yeah, that's fun.
He does like it. So
Making
hauling
my own boards and beams and
hauling the
it's
trees
great.
though up the mountain is a little tedious. We gotta figure because our land is not flat, y'all. Any of it
Mm.
at all. It's all steep hills and mountainous, except for the
Yeah.
holler. But anyhow, it's been quite a ride, and we're happy to share it with other people. And all I have to say is if God's placing on your heart to do something, to move, what have you, one, be patient. Two, have faith. Stay in his word so you're not shook, so you're not wavering. And wait for God's plan, because if he laid a plan on your heart and you're in his word,
It'll happen.
it will happen. It just won't be your time. And it does need, it has to be a team effort. There's no way we could do this if we didn't
No.
have the full support of each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to team effort. But I got to finish cooking for tomorrow, y'all. We got breakfast at church, and then we're gonna have a picnic. We're gonna take the kids to a park and have a picnic.
We're gonna picnic at the park.
We're gonna picnic at the park. Y'all have a blessed Easter Sunday, and thanks for joining our coffee chat.
And thanks for watching.
Wait, wait,
And
wait. God is good. Have a great day. You too, honey. I needed that. I feel like we're flying over open ocean with no place to land. We will see. Tamara, honey, you guys just have faith. It will happen, and he's got a great plan for you. I know it. And it takes some time. That's all. And during that time, he's building your faith. Says, well, I was reading about it in James yesterday. Said, in all things give faith, be patient, don't waver, and blessed is the man that goes through these trials.
yeah, he walks away with a lot.
Anyways, y'all have a great holiday weekend, and thanks for joining our coffee chat.
Thanks for watching.
And next time I might let you talk more.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.